Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? So today I'm going to try to answer a question that I keep getting asked all the time, which more or less goes like this. Hey Ratchets, I'm having trouble with my engine. It's either running poorly all the time or maybe under certain conditions like at idle. And at the same time, when I plug in my scanner, since I got no check engine light, I get no code, so I don't know where to start. Alright, so if you run into this problem, you need to look at the live data coming from your oxygen sensors and short and long-term fuel trims on your scanner. And if you don't know, you don't necessarily need an expensive large scanner like this. These days you can have access to live data PIDs on inexpensive smaller scanners like this, or even cheaper and smaller scanners that you may have seen me use in my videos previously, but obviously those don't have a graphing feature of the live data. Now you might be saying, all right, I kind of know how the oxygen sensor works and what its purpose is, but short and long-term fuel trims, that's really confusing, sounds kind of hard to understand, but it's not really. It's super simple actually. You just need a little bit of a background information. And I'm going to give you the quick version of it. So basically your car's computer, by the way of your oxygen sensors, senses the oxygen that's coming out of your exhaust, and then it controls the fuel injectors to inject enough fuel into the engine where you have 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel entering your engine, which is called the stoichiometric ratio, which is the condition your car is programmed to run under most loads, like at idle or low to medium loads, and that is for efficiency and emissions reasons. And when your engine is running at stoichiometric, your oxygen sensor, if you were to look at it on a graph, will be oscillating from 0.1, 0.2 to about 0.8 volts, and that indicates that the air fuel mixture is correct according to your car's computer. Now let's say something happens and you have a lean condition. A lean condition is when you have too much air to too little fuel relative to the stoichiometric ratio that we talked about entering your engine. When that happens, your oxygen sensor will peg low if you were to look at it on a graph on your scanner. Basically, when your oxygen is pegged low, let's say at 0.2, that means that there's too much air in your exhaust system and that you are running very lean. So what does your computer do with that information? Well, when it sees that your oxygen is showing a lean condition, it will start opening your fuel injectors longer, getting more fuel into the system until the oxygen sensor starts oscillating again, showing that you're at stoichiometric. Now here's where it gets interesting. So initially your car's computer will log that increase in the duty cycle of the fuel injectors into your short-term fuel trims. Let's say for the sake of argument, your car's computer decided that it needed to increase your short-term fuel trims by 15% in order for the oxygen sensor to start oscillating again, indicating a stoichiometric ratio. It will log that extra 15% your fuel injectors stay open in the short-term fuel trims as a percentage. It would basically be positive 15%. And before I forget, do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel. Also hit that bell notification. And if you have questions like this, leave it in the comment section and I'll try to make a video response to it. All right, so hopefully so far so good. Now what happens is that let's say the problem that caused your lean condition is persistent and it's due to, let's say, a vacuum leak, and it's going to be going on for a while. Now when that happens and you have a persistent problem with your engine, the information from the short-term fuel trims will transfer over to the long-term fuel trims. Now on the other hand, if you have a rich air fuel mixture, your oxygen sensor will peg high. It will peg at, let's say, 0.7, 0.8 volts, indicating a rich condition. Your car's computer will decrease the amount of time your fuel injectors are open, and that will show as a negative percentage in your short-term fuel trims. And after a while, that information will transfer over to your long-term fuel trims, showing that as negative 15%. Will zero out your short-term fuel trims, and your oxygen sensors will start oscillating again. All right, so to make this even shorter, if you're having problems with your engine and you have no check engine light, you need to get your scanner, look at your oxygen sensor, make sure it's oscillating correctly, and then you look at your short-term and long-term fuel trims. A positive percentage will indicate your computer has decided to pump more fuel in there, indicating that you have a lean condition on your engine. A negative percentage in your short and long-term fuel trims indicates that your car's computer has decided to take fuel away, indicating that you have too much fuel to too little air in your engine, which is a rich condition. A lean and a rich condition happen for a variety of reasons. Most common one for a lean condition would be a vacuum leak, that is unmetered air entering your engine. And some causes for a rich condition would be, let's say, a leaking fuel injector, which like it sounds basically means that it's leaking fuel into the engine during the time that it's supposed to be closed. All right, now let me show you this in real life. Now actually, before I do that, you might be asking, well, what are normal numbers for the short and long-term fuel trims? Basically, if you were to add up the number from the short-term fuel trim to the long-term fuel trim, as long as it adds up to less than 8%, either negative or positive, or even 10% negative or positive, that's usually okay. Ideally, you want to be as close as to zero as you can, but that doesn't happen all the time. Oh, and before I forget, when you want to check your oxygen sensors and fuel trims, you want to make sure you turn on your car, let it warm up and reach operating temperature, and check on your scanner and make sure that you're in closed loop. All right, so here's how things look on this scanner. As you can see, we got loop status closed. That's what we want before we move on. We got our oxygen sensor, bank 1, sensor 1 oscillating. We got 82, 86 to 700 and something. That's basically in millivolts. So in other words, it's 0.1 to 0.7 or 0.8 volts, which shows it's oscillating and working correctly. We got our bank 2 sensor 1 oscillating as well, as you can see here. And you're gonna have two banks if you have a V8 engine or a V-shaped engine. That includes V8s, V6s, V10s, whatever. And you're gonna have one bank if you have an inline engine. Now this is a V8 here that I have here. It's a 5.3 liter V8 engine, so I have two banks. And the sensor you want to pay attention to usually is going to be your sensor 1 on each bank. That's the pre-cat oxygen sensor, and usually what's responsible for adjusting your air fuel mixture. All right, so let me show you this on a graph. So I got room for 4 graphs here. We put bank 1 sensor 1, oxygen sensor 1 here, and I'll put short-term fuel trims here. And you obviously have short and long-term fuel trims for each bank separately. And we'll put bank 2 sensor 1 up here and the corresponding short-term fuel trims. All right, so what I'm going to do next is actually show you how this will look like in real life. I'll set the camera on the scanner again so you guys can see the graphs. Then I'll come back here and I'll pull off one of these vacuum lines on the intake manifold and causing a vacuum leak. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to switch over this short-term fuel trim for bank 2 for the long-term fuel trim for bank 1, because the vacuum leak I'm going to cause is going to affect both banks. So it doesn't matter which one you're looking at. I just wanted to make sure that you guys can see how it transfers over to the long-term fuel trims. All right, it should be coming off any second now. All right, the oxygen sensor should be pegged low, as you probably saw. Now it's starting to oscillate again, and you can see the short-term fuel trim going up and then transferred quickly over to the long-term fuel trim. So this was near zero, now it's at positive 10, indicating that your car's computer is adding fuel to the engine. This went back to near zero, and the oxygen sensors have started oscillating again. All right, so with that information, now we can start somewhere. We don't have a check engine light, but we know that we're running lean. What could cause that? Well, again, many things, but a lot of times it's going to be a vacuum leak. If that doesn't check out, then it could be a bad mass airflow sensor. Maybe on the fuel side, dirty fuel injectors, a fuel pump that's weak. So we have a point of starting the diagnostic procedure. And look, Beavis and Butthead are out. You know what that means? That means I gotta go for a walk. But fear none, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification and leave questions down below in the comment section. But also check out these videos that you will find helpful. I'll put a link to one in this corner, one below it that you can click on and check out. Links down below in the description box as well. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.